Appreciate you coming tonight, starting our Jim Wood Speaker Series for this 2014-2015. Tonight we're going into our second alumni panel. Last year was a very good effect and had good response to it, so we're going to carry that over as a routine, as a staple, as you will, into our program. We have three alumni: Linda McCool, Corey Wagner, and Sherry Miller. Now you have your handouts here, but I just want to pick up some highlights with Glenda, starting with Glenda. Glenda began her college career here at Clayton University, and a year later she began her full-time job at Delta. She transitioned her education to a non-traditional status, attending part-time during evening and night classes. She transferred to Georgia State University. Glenda completed her BS degree in marketing with the cum laude honors, and her position at Delta Airlines as a financial analyst, and moved to Eaton as a financial data analyst in 2006. During her time at Eaton, she earned her MBA at Clayton State University. Linda was in our third cohort that we had. Corey Wagner began his career with Shapiro in 2011 as a marketing intern and was hired upon graduating from Clayton State University. Corey now works as the regional director of commercial development based here in Atlanta. He utilizes his experience to provide potential clients with tailoring, routing consolidation, customized processing, design, and supply chain solutions. Corey worked at the Hub, so I don't know if anybody remembers him saying, no, he won't help you with your PC, but he was very quick on that, I know at least for me.
Not resetting passwords either. So.
But he worked as a technical analyst, and he was also active in many organizations, one being that he was the leading officer of the marketing club.
The president
marketing club. It says right here, it's President Howard Marketing Club. We just kept reading it on. He's a member of Beta Gamma Sigma as well as the SAM Club, and he participated in 2 national competitions. And with his 1/3 of the participation, we won first place for those 2 years. So it was very, very good competition. We're very happy for that. And Corey graduated in 2012. Sherry Miller, she has a very unique situation. Has a BS in integrated studies, a BBA in management, and an MBA in Clayton State. She was the second cohort, so she was one of the very early ones to come into our MBA program. After completing her initial studies at Clayton State, she spent 7 years with an accounting firm, an IT consultant, and staff accountant. After enrolling in her MBA program, she joined Jacobson Companies in 2008 as a business development coordinator. Now, Sherry is unique only because she was actually our first student that we got a phone call from the industry saying, I have an admin's position open. Do you have anybody you can recommend? Sherry was our recommendation. And she met with the vice president, and he immediately shut down the search, and he hired her as his admin. And of course, she has the rest of the story to tell on that. Sherry's also just been recognized as Outstanding Current Alumni of the Year, based on her career and the selection process here for the university. So it's an extreme honor, and for us to have 2 of the 3 picks in the College of Business is really a great mark for us. So I'm not going to take any more of their time, because that's why you came to hear them and not me, but something different this year, or this one. Anybody who has a good question, and there's never a bad question. If it's a good question, we're going to give you a pen. Ooh. Then you have numbers, you have tickets, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have a drawing. And the drawing is a book, is Seeing the Big Picture, And then this is from Glenda, if you want to expand on this, you can.
Everybody needs another book, right?
Yeah. Even though it says the big picture, there's no pictures in it. Right? So I immediately looked for it and I couldn't find it. So I'll tell you what, we're going to start the program and we're going to start with Glenda.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. We've been in your position before as students, and when we've had speakers before, I would always take notes and try to draw something that would help and inspire me. So I hope that we do that for you tonight. One of the things that I feel like is most important to me when I started my college career was my GPA. I did not realize how important your GPA and how it could affect you later. I went to the mall shopping, and as Dr. Arjman might know, I skipped a couple of his classes. And then I realized later how long it took me to dig out of the GPA hole that I had gotten myself into. So pay attention to your GPA. It'll get you far. And with that, one of the things that I thought that it was crazy to know and to learn was statistics and communications, business communications. Statistics was one of the hardest classes I had. As many of you may know, can I get a hand? How many of you think, oh, thank you. And how many of you guys think that you can't believe you're having to take statistics, right? And how it fits into your life, right? Well, yeah, can I get an amen? So actually pay attention to statistics and keep your books and notes on it. It will come in handy. When you want to wow somebody in a presentation, you break out those notes and you figure out how to do a Pareto chart. Not many people know how to do a Pareto chart. You can do YouTube videos on it and find out how to do these Pareto charts. But really take that into heart when you guys go through statistics and take that with you. Business communications is important because you need to know how to speak to someone through email and persuade them and convince them that your way is the right way and it's the best way for the company. So pay attention to that too. Or I still paid attention to it. I'm always trying to convince someone that they have to do it my way. The other thing is the professors that we have. The professors that you guys have now are amazing. When I was coming through college, I didn't realize what I had and what a resource that they could be. They're actually amazing. And what they have to say and to give back towards you, they'll be there for years. Keep in contact with them, and as far as networking, they should be your first source, as well as your classmates. When in my first job, my first true job with Delta, I didn't even realize I networked to get that job. I started in an entry level and ended up staying there for 18 years. When the economy hit low and Delta started doing pay cuts and all this other stuff, at that time, my husband and I both worked for Delta, so it was more beneficial for me to go elsewhere because I did have my degree in marketing. So I was led in another direction, and I'm actually very happy where I'm at with Cooper, Eaton Cooper. And I realized that my second job with Eaton Cooper was also because of networking. And it just ended up being in the right place at the right time, but also having those people where they say, hey, why don't you give me your resume? Never hurts to look. Don't stop looking either. That way you'll keep up your skills and your elevator speeches. That's really important. I've changed my elevator speech now into a drive-bys. When my director walks by, I say, hey, Steve. And so you always are going to use those skills. The other thing that I felt that was really important is mentors, establishing mentors. Mentors within your company and mentors with your professors. I believe that the knowledge does not belong to one person. It belongs to the people. Your professors feel that same way as well, or they wouldn't be teaching. So if you're not doing so well in a class, or if you feel like you need some extra help, don't be afraid to reach out to a professor. And if that doesn't work, try YouTube. It works really well with a bunch of classes and statistics, and they could actually probably give you, and I'm not kidding, the professors could probably tell you a couple names, because when we were trying to do a lot of the formulas and stuff, the professors actually pointed us in the direction. So use your professors, and have confidence in yourself. Many people don't have confidence. Just being here tonight, knowing that you could be doing something else, you guys actually care to come here, or you were coerced.
Class credit, right?
Yeah, so, but thank you for coming. And the last thing I have to share, as many of us already know, is don't stop following your dreams, but don't be so busy to where you don't spend time with your family and following your dreams and personal activities. Adventures are wonderful and awesome, and I look at adventures, I'll go out and look at job bids for like Porsche, thinking, oh yes, I could drive a Porsche, I could work at the test track. And dreams aren't bad. They're actually really good. So don't be scared to dream and go for it. And that's what I have to give to you guys tonight. And I hope that you guys enjoy your time in college and that you guys are successful. So Corey.
As Professor M mentioned, I'm Corey Wagner. I work with Shapiro now, and you know, my title is just a bunch of nonsense. It's essentially I do sales, and really learned a lot from my professors. Networking was a big thing. You know, Glenda mentioned I wouldn't be here today with Shapiro and where I am in my career if it wasn't for Professor M. He sent over the internship with Shapiro that kind of fit perfectly with my skills with marketing and supply chain, and I started with them as an intern, and you know, just kind of moved up as I progressed through school. And once I graduated, they offered me a full-time job. So networking it's a huge thing. You never know when a job's going to come up. You never know who you're meeting with that might lead to something down the road. So always, you know, try to participate in networking events and grow your network. Like I said, you never know who you're going to need 10 years from now, 2 years from now, whatever the case may be. Some of the things, you know, that I personally think helped me get to where I am today, working at the Hub. It's kind of out of, it's really not in the same spectrum of what I'm doing now. I was doing tech support and working in the call center for the Hub. But a lot of the skills that I learned at that job helped me kind of get to where I am. And you wouldn't believe some of the most simplistic Excel reports and things that you can do with the formulas in Excel can really wow people in the workforce these days. A lot of people really don't have a lot of the skills that you have access to learn here at Clayton. So definitely hone your tech skills while you have the chance. Things are growing and changing so rapidly, but you have to really stay ahead of that curve and have that competitive advantage. Communication skills, very important. I run across people every day that, you know, they send me emails and, you know, they aren't really making any sense. So definitely work on your communication skills and your technical skills, because that's just going to be something that's really going to help you advance and, you know, further your career. And, you know, the last thing I think that could really help folks, you know, like I said, I've been in your shoes and the clubs that I was a part of. So SAM, I got to compete in 2 national case competitions. You know, we went to Vegas one year, so you know, not only do you get to participate in this national event, but you get you go to Vegas and have a great time and you know, hopefully win the trophy. So get involved in some clubs. Definitely looks good on the resume, but it helps you to further your you know, your career and build the skills that you need to, I guess, become a better worker. That's yeah, I'm not as hard act to follow.
I am probably going to take my entire 10 minutes, and you guys are going to tell me to shut up. That's fine. I have I think, a different background, and that's not a bad thing. Any of you who have ever changed your major, I understand. You can see that I had a handful of different majors. I started as an accounting major, made it through till my senior year, decided I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be an information technology major, and IT was a brand new major at Clayton State. Changed my major. I got out with an integrative studies degree. And at the time, it was one of those newer things, and it was hard to convince the marketplace that there was value. I saw the value. I knew exactly what I could do, and I was not afraid to tell anyone. But it was a little bit harder to convince the the marketplace. So I went to work at a regional accounting firm. Loved it, loved working with the people. I stayed there longer than I should have, professionally speaking, because I loved my coworkers. But there's a lot of value in that, in a work-life balance. Decided that I didn't want to be a CPA. I knew that. There was nowhere for me to go at my firm, so I wanted to go back to school. I had my eyes set on Georgia Tech, wanted to do their MBA program, looked into it, and because I didn't have a traditional bachelor's degree in business, they wanted me to take a lot of prerequisites. I felt like I already knew what they wanted me to do. That was a lot of money. So I said, I'm going to go back to Clayton State. I'll get another bachelor's degree in business. I'll have what Tech wants, and then I'll go enroll. It's going to cost me the same amount of money, same amount of time. I might as well do it. So I came back, and that was always my goal. And my next to last semester, working full-time as a student, 60 hours a week at my accounting firm, I took Professor M's supply chain class as an elective. And I don't know how to describe it other than a bolt of lightning struck me and said, this is what you're going to do the rest of your life. And it ignited a passion that I didn't know could have possibly existed. And I'm a nerd. I loved classes. I am the person that sat at the front row. I took notes. I asked all my professors questions. I had most of them in the room. I was that student, but having this class and with Professor M, I knew exactly what I needed to do. Clayton State had just started the MBA program, and I had the opportunity, because I already had a bachelor's degree, to start with cohort 1 or take my last 2 classes towards my second bachelor's degree. And I decided I wanted to finish that since I'd gotten so far down the path. I did enroll directly into the Clayton State MBA program. I'm still at my accounting firm job. It's crazy schedule. I was married. It was not a fun time in my life. It was very busy, but I would not have taken it back for anything. But I will say the true value, in my opinion, of networking is that I stood up in class. Dr. Finley, you may specifically remember this, and Dr. May also. I stood up in class on the day we introduced ourselves to our cohort classmates, as well as all of the professors, and I said, I want a job in logistics. If you can help me get a job in logistics, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do. And Dr. Dice, I guess, remembered, and when the president of my firm called and said, I need someone, they sent my resume over. I was the only person interviewed for the job. I got in, we about halfway through, and he steps out and tells me he needs to make a phone call really quick. He canceled every other interview that he had. So the value, and it was just a casual conversation up to that point, but it was an obvious value to him that I was able to bring because of my education at Clayton State. There is no way around it. I work for a firm right now. We have 7,000 employees in the U.S. We were just purchased by a French firm, so now my company has 43,000 employees globally. There aren't a lot of women in a warehouse business. And I got hired on working directly for the president of the firm to be some admin, to do some IT work, because that was my background. So I was bound and determined to show him that I could do anything he wanted. So my rule, my first year at my job, was I did not say no to anything. Sherry, can you do this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. I can tell you that at the time, my husband probably hated me. He's not my husband anymore, so that's good. But there are reasons. But anyways, so happiness is a value.
But you have a great one now.
I have an amazing
She has a
husband
great one now.
Everything's perfect. But the whole point of life happens for a reason. But I did not say no. That was really seriously my policy. And it was frustrating, and I took a pay cut. I took a pretty substantial pay cut to go into the logistics industry. But I was competing with people at my firm that had degrees from Penn State, that had degrees from Sloan, that had degrees from MIT and Tech, and Iowa State. Oh my gosh, we have hundreds of people that work for Iowa State. And nobody had heard of Clayton State. And it was my mission to educate them on the education that I had. And so I know that maybe sounds a little bit odd, but I never said no. I took on every project they threw at me, even when it made my life crazy, because my goal, Dr. Finley's decision-making class, was 5 years after completion of my MBA. I wanted to be vice president in this firm that I had only worked at for about a month. And in July, when my 5 years were up, I got a phone call about 4 days before my 5-year anniversary that they were giving me my raise to vice president. It hasn't been made official yet because my company was acquired, but it's on the way in 2 weeks. So my advice would be to set a goal, to know what it is, and to do everything that you can do to make that happen. Don't say no to something if it's going to advance. I worked lots of crazy hours. I worked lots of weekends. I traveled, but I love my job. I have so many amazing opportunities that I would not have had if it wasn't for the education that I got. I know that everyone talked about a little bit of different things. The best advice that I would have, be a sponge. Find something that you're passionate about. Find people that do it. Be a sponge. Become a thought leader in your industry. I love supply chain. I told you guys I'm going to talk, so I'm wrapping it up. But so supply chain was my passion, but I was still on the IT side, still on the business development, sales support side. So I worked with all the salespeople and all the operations people and all the executives, but they weren't convinced that I knew what I was talking about. So I spent my evenings educating myself, reading articles, doing all of this. I have a Twitter account. I tweet as Supply Chain Share. I don't talk about anything personal. I only talk about supply chain. I have about 3,500 followers right now. I recently, on the way here today, got asked to be on a guest columnist on a regular podcast related to supply chain. And I am leading the marketing and content strategy for the U.S. for my firm because of all of the things I was doing in my personal time that the president of our company fired our marketing consultants and said, Sherry, I want you to run our marketing department. You know more than all of these people. And it's all because I did these things on my own because I was passionate about it. It takes a while for things to pay off. But when you find your calling and you do what you need to do, you will be that person that's promotable. I've had 5 promotions in 6 years. I've more than tripled my salary from where I started. And I'm on target to do that again. So things are really, really looking up. My most recent project, because I mentioned we were just purchased by a French firm, I'm now in charge of rebranding our entire $875 million U.S. company. $7 billion firm bought us. So I have responsibilities for all internal, external. If you see a truck driving down the road, I'm going to be the one deciding how that looks. That's a pretty big deal. And I beat out all the MIT folks and all the Sloan folks and all of the Georgia Tech folks. And I have an office in Iowa where the people that work for me, I have a pennant from Clayton State hanging in my office. I have the 12 Drivers of Competitive Advantage, which is a book that we read for our MBA class. I have them printed on a poster that I had custom made, framed. And everybody knows where I went to school. They all want to know how can they hire more people here. The problem is the jobs are in Iowa. So, but my point is that, yeah, so I guess to wrap up, to me, my GPA was not so good the first time around. It was stellar the second time around because I found out where I needed to be. If your grades aren't where they need to be, you probably aren't where you need to be. But when you find the right place, you can't get a better education than what you have here. And there are not better professors than what you have here. My colleagues at work are all jealous of the fact that I stay in touch with them. And I get invited to events like this, and they don't at all. So, sorry.
Very nice. Very, very good stories. Just let's go down one more time. Glenda explained Cooper. Corey explained Shapiro, and then Sherry explained whatever that new company name is, okay? Just go what the business model is and the
Okay. So Cooper was purchased by Eaton, and the acquisition was acquired in November 2012, and they bought Eaton for $14 billion. That's billion with a B. And Cooper is still one of the largest cash cows for Eaton. As a matter of fact, when we were on a call last week, Eaton is primarily into manufacturing and power supplies. Cooper had a power company. It was called Cooper Power Systems. And Eaton basically acquired us because we had the customers. So they kept Cooper on, and we do everything. We have an aerospace company. Eaton has an aerospace company. I'm very proud of this. Eaton has an aerospace company, so when you ask somebody in California, this isn't rocket science, is it? They're like, well, yeah, it is. And, you know, accounting's not rocket science, but it helps. And so if you look us up online, I forgot how, 33.9 billion in sales. But I came from a company, Delta Airlines, and Delta Airlines is on track this year for making $4 billion in profit. So my suggestion is, and that was a service company. So when I went from a service company to a manufacturing company, it was, bells went off, like Sherry said. It was like, oh, this is amazing. You know, we're building something and we're putting it out there. In a service industry, you don't really have a product that somebody takes with them, because it's the product that they take and use, and it's all gone. And in manufacturing, when you go out into a parking lot and you see these awesome LED lights at night, and you think, oh my gosh, that must be an Eaton product. And the ones that blink are Lithonia. Those are Lithonia products.
They don't blink.
They do. Oh, come on, John. See, I told you, they're Lithonia.
We blew Cooper away a long time.
So,
We made these lights. These are Lithonia lights.
yes, that's why it's a little dark back here in the corner. It's a little dark, John.
That's all.
Come on. Yeah. So, and that's pretty much it about Eaton. I challenge you guys to go out there, and if you want to work for a large company, go on LinkedIn, find out your professors, because there's definitely one of their students that are on LinkedIn that works for some of these large companies. And if you want to go travel the world, if you want to go see the sights, go with Delta Airlines. I'm not kidding. You know, that's the way to do it. But you can also do like what Sherry's suggesting, is go out there and find your own adventure. Work for a big company if that's what you want to do.
Definitely. Corey?
Yeah, I work at a company called Shapiro, and it's not a very large company. We have about 125 employees all across the East Coast. And it's a family-owned and operated company that was founded in 1915, and we mainly deal with importers and exporters moving products in and out of the U.S. So that's essentially where our services, that's what makes up our services, is the ocean and air transportation, as well as working with customs to clear the cargo into the U.S. I started there as a marketing intern, and definitely knew it was my place when they flew me up to Baltimore and I was in the CEO's condo drinking beer with them, and it was just kind of like that clicked with me. You know, I've had seen other people have experiences with large companies, and just to have that personal connection with the upper management with my company, it was it kind of clicked for me. So
that trip to Las Vegas helped you with that beer drinking.
oh, it did. It definitely did. Reza taught me well. So
No stories.
no. But you know, it's something new every day. The logistics industry, you're not going to be doing the same thing every day. At least in my, well, you know, you can agree with that. So if you like, you know, having a little bit of craziness in what you do, and you know, I kind of get a little stir crazy if I'm doing a repetitive task every single day. So having something that's you know, really captivating, and you never know what kind of curveballs you're gonna, you know, be thrown whenever you answer the phone every morning. So if you're interested in that kind of life, I don't know if that's what you're looking for in a career, but the logistics industry will definitely give you that.
I'm going to tell a story about that, how the door opened up for Corey. The HR fellow called me from Philadelphia, Shapiro, saying they open up an Atlantic Gateway, and they have 3 positions, 3 intern positions they're looking to develop. So he says, do you have anybody? And I gave him resumes of 3 people, and he phone called them and they passed. He calls me back, says they did well. I want to pass them on to the next level. I want to give them a test. Do you mind? I said, I don't care whatsoever. He says, do you want to know what's on the test? I said, absolutely not. Just go ahead and give them the test. He calls back 2 weeks later and says, I got to tell you something. He says, we're here in Philadelphia and we deal with Penn State supply chain people. We gave your 3 students a test, which was the harmonizing code, that supports the import process on identifying products worldwide. He says, your students nailed it. Penn State students had no clue what we were talking about. He says, I'm hiring them from temps to interns to full-time. So that went on for about a half a year, and then he calls me back and says, I need somebody with supply chain and marketing. And that's when Corey was sitting right in front of me in my office, and I said, I have the fellow right here in front of me, and I'm gonna pass your resume on. So again, Penn State, and that was mentioned with Sherry, we are competing with the big guys, and we're leaving them in the dust. All our education levels, not just supply chain, but all our accounting, marketing, they're all being very successful, and they're going up against Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Auburn. They're going up against these people, and I'm seeing companies opening the doors like they're saying to Sherry, we want more. And that's cool. That's the best way to be. We just got to get you to hire more, okay? But again, that's going to come because every one of them have pulled people in, and that's what we want to do. The first one out breaks the ice, makes the reputation good, and then they pull the rest of the people in because now they're contacting us, the faculty, saying, who do you know? And so you gotta let us know you, so when these opportunities come, we can come to you and say, we got opportunities for you. Now, Sherry, you have 2 of our people right now, right?
We have a handful. I'm mentoring one at our new Morrow facility, and our client, it's a warehouse, and we operate it with our client in-house. And so one of the new grads works for Jacobson, and one of the new grads works for Pepperidge Farm. And we've hired quite a few. In fact, at our Forest Park location, we've got 6 or 8 Clayton State grads over the years. So we've got them. We even have a couple of Clayton State grads in other parts of our network. We have someone in Missouri who's a Clayton State grad, works as an operations manager for us. And I think the other person's out in Nashville.
And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to relocate.
Yeah.
Atlanta's always going to be here, and family can always follow you. But don't say my family's here, therefore I can't go, because opportunities will be passed. Say yes, go, and you'd be surprised how much that opportunity just expands you for greater things. The company, Sherry?
I work for Jacobson Companies. We are a third-party logistics firm, so we service all kinds of companies. We service food and beverage, CPG, chemical, industrial. If you go to the store and you buy a product, at some point it's probably been through our warehouse. I was telling these folks at dinner, we service 74% of all of the pasta in the U.S. comes through one of my warehouses at some point. That's a lot of pasta. You have probably no idea. We've got some fun customers too, but so we have 6,700 employees in the U.S., 148 warehouses that we operate, totaling 36.5 million square feet. So depending on who you talk to and at what day that they do the measuring, we are the 3rd largest warehouse provider in the U.S. It's nothing attractive about warehouse providing. You know, we have 1,500 trucks on the road with our stickers that drive all over the country, mostly in the heartland. But we are incredibly profitable, and because of that, we were purchased by Norbert Nontresong, which is not spelled the way it looks, and it is a French third-party logistics firm. If you ever spend any time in Europe on the road, you will see the tractor trailers that are completely solid head-to-toe red. Those are the Norries, which is the British way. Lorry is the British name for a truck. These are so well known that they call them Norries after the name of the company. So Norbert has purchased us with the intent of making us their U.S. flagship and expanding their presence. So we've done, since I've been at Jacobson, 5 acquisitions. I think that that's probably going to ramp up quite a bit. It's pretty amazing. Like I said, $875 million for the U.S. side, $7 billion on the global side, and they really haven't gotten outside of Europe yet. So this is really exciting in terms of where the opportunities are, but I could not agree more with Professor M's comment about letting your professors know who you are, know what you're interested in, what you're all about. I wouldn't have my job if it wasn't for them. I don't believe in networking. I believe in net weaving, which I know sounds really cheesy to most of you. But I can't tell you how many times someone has called me and said, Sherry, where did you graduate from? I need to find someone like you. It may not be my company, but I send them to the professors. Dozens of resumes I've forwarded along, passed along. But making those connections for people, that's how you get phone calls back. That's how you get the door, become known for something. And if I'm not connected with you guys on LinkedIn, you should connect with me tonight.
So how many of you guys know what net weaving is?
Nobody.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, Sherry's gonna stand at the board and she's gonna draw the tree. But
Net weaving
seriously,
is, yeah.
that's really
Important
huge.
distinction, I think.
Why don't you explain it?
It's a matter of linking people together.
So-
What I like to do is link people together. I meet someone, I ask them, what do they need? What can I help you with? They may think they don't need anything or I can't help them, but I convince them to tell me one thing. And I go out of my way to find somebody that can fix that one thing that they need. If it's a plumber, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be totally random. And I'm going to always be known to that person as the person that fixed that problem that they had at that moment. And I literally have hundreds of people that I've connected with over the years like that. Especially since the announcement has been made about our company, I've probably had about 150 new connections on LinkedIn that are trying to connect with me because they know how connected I am now to, other folks. But that is huge, and I am probably I think that I'm the biggest advocate of Clayton State students because I know what you guys have gotten here. So I do everything I can to put Clayton State's name out in the marketplace. I view it as I'm carrying the flag, and I'm the first one there, and I'm going to plant it, and I'm going to make sure it grows. And I know that probably sounds really cheesy, but I am incredibly proud of Clayton State. I am very proud to be a Laker. I love that the people that work for me went to Penn State. They work for me, and they don't have any idea where I went to school. And when I bring them to Atlanta, I bring them on campus. Sometimes they scratch their heads a little bit. I went to Iowa State. There's 55,000 students there. I don't know what you guys are doing at Iowa State, but Clayton State knows. So I'm very proud, and I find ways to link up with people, find people that you can follow, that you can learn from, that you can absorb from, be a sponge. Really, if you're going to be a casual student, if you're going to show up and you're not going to keep your books, I have every book I've ever got in college. I still use them all the time.
Yes.
I pull out that marketing book. I'm the head of marketing. If I can't find some marketing term to throw in there, shame on me. But so
I Google. I
Yeah.
honestly Google.
I have every
If I don't
supply
have it
chain
beside me.
related podcast that iTunes has on my phone and my iPad, and I watch them over and over again on a plane. That's what I do, because what else am I going to do? Play a game? If you're not constantly educating yourself, if you're not reading some new book like the one that Glenda brought, then you are being stagnant in a constantly moving world, and you're not worth anything to the employers. And I know that sounds harsh, and maybe that's the ENTJ in me cutting through everything, but I'm being very serious. When people come to work for me, I don't care what their GPA is. Sorry, Glenda. I don't care what your GPA is. I really don't care where you went to school. I care do you get things done. And the people that get things done for me are the ones that are continue to get promoted. And the Clayton State folks, I know that you guys know how to do that. So to me, that's a bit of a shortcut. I don't have to ask very many more questions.
Good. Time for Q&A. Now, I know it's very hard to ask the first question. We're going to skip number one and go to number two. So who has the second question they want to ask? Now, you get a pen if you ask a question. We still got the door prize. In fact, we got a little bag too we're going to give away too. But
It
so let's
doesn't
go.
say
Come on,
Latonia
come on.
like
Driving in for number 2 question. Remember, there's no bad questions, only no questions. Speak up. Repeat the question.
As an integrated study major, I know you said it was kind of tough to get them to understand how you're valuable to their company. Could you just briefly elaborate on like what exactly it is you use in your interview and trying to get them to understand it, integrated studies, because it is like a broad thing.
It is.
Take something from here to create the best keys and elements to get you where you want to be.
Yep. I knew what I wanted to do, even as an integrative studies major. I wanted to be the manager of IT people. And that was what my goal was as that, in that major. And so I did everything around, how can I do this? What are the skills that that person needs to have? How do I demonstrate that I have those skills? How do I talk about the organizations that I was part of and relay an experience back to what that person needs? And I felt the need to be very proactive in describing it. I am a very good public speaker because I have so much experience doing Dr. May's class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all skills you have to have, but I was very polished. I had all of my friends give mock interviews and they thought I was crazy. I had them ask me just random questions like, Miss America put me on the spot, I don't know what I'm gonna say. And I had to practice saying anything under pressure. And to me, that made me get really good at honing what is it that I want this person to know in the 2 minutes they have.
Number 3 question. Come on, remember, the only bad question is no question. Good, Manuel.
I'm Manuel, a chain major. I have a question for Glenda. How do you manage family life and school, also at work? Did you get like a Sunday off, or do you just schedule hours during the day?
You mean for the MBA or for the undergrad?
For the MBA.
No, we did not get time off on Sunday. I had a very supportive family. I have 2 boys, 2 wonderful boys. And when I was going through the MBA, Sherry was just, we were just laughing. They were pretty young. They were in middle school, and they knew what I was doing, but I felt like it was really important, Manuel, to tell the kids and show the kids that education is important. And the MBA program that Clayton has is just awesome. We put in a lot of hours in the MBA program as students, as the professors do too. But we put in, what would you say, Sherry, about six hours for every class
At least.
during the week, and if
you
not
weren't,
more.
then you were slacking. And
Yeah, and we were the
yeah.
leaders of our groups. So there was 3 o'clock mornings, going to work at 8 o'clock the next morning. Sundays, we that was our times that we got together with our groups after church, and always bring food. Whatever you do, just always bring food. But as far as my family supported me, and they're my roots. They're why I have adventures. They're why I go to Turks and Caicos and go scuba diving, all 4 of us. They're why we go on vacations to Hawaii or to Mexico and do scuba diving, because it's important to have your family. And the adventures that you have with your family, those are what bring you together, and you create those memories and those bonds. But it was really important for me, and I know that I'm being long-winded, but it was very important for me, for my kids to know that education was important, because nobody can take that away from you. That's yours.
Look, I have a question for you. Can I go with you on this vacation? We had one over there and then you.
How are y'all doing this evening? My name is Taylor White. I'm a healthcare management major here. All 3 of you mentioned networking, and this isn't for any particular one of y'all. All y'all can answer. Single most important aspect of networking to just beef up your networking skills and increase your chances of getting noticed by somebody. If there is one single thing that you can do to really beef that up, what would it be?
I mean, you have to take a risk. I've been to a lot of networking events where, you see folks that kind of just maybe see someone that they know and will kind of latch on to them. You have to really be outgoing and mix it up and try to meet. I try to at least meet 15 to 20 new people whenever I go to a networking event, depending on how big it is. So really just putting yourself out there and having that confidence to go up to a stranger and just talk to them is really key. So
It gets easier as the more you do.
Does.
Sure.
Yeah.
It gets easier.
Sherry and Corey are showing me up tonight. I did not bring any business cards.
No, you brought the
brought
book.
good-
So,
Yeah, you brought the book. Let's be real.
so, but you know, and that's one of the things
Better
is
yet, you didn't even
to,
sign it.
no.
Follow
We'll
your
let you-
dreams.
we'll let
Stephen
you
Covey,
guys-
see what
no,
happens.
no. But take business cards with you too.
All right,
But
we have a question here.
My name is Robert Smith. I'm an integrative studies major here. With globalization, positions are obviously opening up around the world. What would you do in order to make yourself more noticeable for those types of positions, as well as to, I guess, kind of career path towards those?
I just purchased Rosetta Stone in French. That's my next thing because that's where my company is headquartered. For a while, for about 3.5 years at Jacobson, I worked directly for the CEO, and he had been based in Asia for 25 years and was fluent in 7 Asian languages. And so virtually, I mean, he surrounded himself with people that could speak Mandarin and Korean, and I was completely left out of the conversation in every one of those. If you don't know, if you're going to work in any field that's international, which is pretty much every field, you don't have at least some basis in another language. I'm way behind the game that way. I'm the first to admit it. That's what I would suggest. And I wouldn't mess with Spanish. I would go with Chinese. Everybody that I know, even my French counterparts, they all have lots of Chinese background and they're learning it. So that's where I would go.
The other thing is look into the study abroad trip to China in Maine, Leicester. That'll help all of you guys get out there and get exposure, because China is the country that everything is really gravitating to. And if you can understand that, then that helps you a little bit too.
As a graduating senior, how would that, like, what could I do, I guess, moving forward?
In the industry,
Well, I mean, to gain kind of like experience abroad.
okay, I think the best thing to do is talk to us offline.
Okay.
Just come see Dr. Miller or myself. Just, we're up there on the second floor. Just come and talk to us. Talk to get other professors' viewpoint as well on globalization, because we're all seeing it in different ways.
Okay.
So talk to the professors about that as well. You want to get everybody's viewpoint. Seriously,
And we have a global competency certificate.
that's right.
In the College of Business, so come and talk to me about that.
Yeah, come talk to us. We're only as good as you guys come talk to us. All right, next question. All right, there.
Hey, Chi MBA. I'm coming from a law background, and I'm switching majors. I'm switching from law to business. It's kind of difficult for me understanding the terms in accounting and in statistics. It's very different. So I'd like to know how to handle changing from the law background to business background, and what I should do, steps I should take in order to make it easy to understand. I have a family, I have a baby who's 2 years old, they're terrific twos, and then it's just me and her. So I need to be able to manage my time. I know how to read so I can catch up easily in class.
I have a cheat document that I created in the MBA program when I was still learning what 3PL terms were. I didn't know any of them. I went out on every website that I could find that had diction. I did a Google search on third-party logistics acronyms, terminology. I copied every one of those into a Word doc. It's 32 pages long. Wow. It's still part of the onboarding process for every person that comes to work for me now. I printed it out, and I have it printed out. I don't have it with me today. I have it printed out in half-size pages, shrunk down, and I would just print out a copy, highlight it, make my own notes, go through that entire deck until I was done, print out another copy, do exactly the same thing. Each time I would go through it, I would find more things. If you quiz me on Incoterms, you'd have me beat, but that was the best way. It was just a matter of looking through it, Googling it if I didn't understand how it was used. But it doesn't take time. I mean, you have smartphones now. We didn't have smartphones when I first finished. And what an amazing difference that is. And there's probably an app that has all the terms for you that you could put on your phone right now. Sorry. I'll shut up.
No, I did something similar. Yeah, that's awesome.
Supply chain management, just transferred over from healthcare management. I've been working full-time ever since I obtained my associate's degree. I'm working full-time right now, obtaining my bachelor's degree. The only issue that I'm gonna have is once I get in my senior year is internship. So do anybody have any type of,
I mean, you know, my internship really put me where I am today. If I hadn't done my internship with Shapiro, you know, I wouldn't have gotten hired full time. I wouldn't have been able to show them my skills and what I'd learned, you know, throughout my college career. So, you know, I would just stress how important it is. I mean, even if you don't stay with that company, you're gaining that experience, and you know, people look at an internship, especially within your industry, and it really helps when you're looking for that full-time position after graduating. So, you know, I personally think it's really important, you know, whether it's something you're doing on the side part-time, just to have something else to, you know, add to that resume.
Sanford Dennis is putting out emails with all kinds of internship opportunities. You gotta respond to those. You gotta go and talk to him. He's getting all the internships, okay? Professors get words of internships. If any one of them call me, I send it down to Sanford. So don't stay in that bubble, don't stay in that vacuum. You gotta come out and you gotta talk, okay? So Sanford definitely is the person you wanna sit down and talk to. But internships do work, because if you're good, businesses don't let good talent go.
Yeah.
And that's what you wanna take advantage of, to prove yourself.
If you,
President?
And don't be afraid to take some risk and go for unpaid
Right.
Yeah.
internship. If it is unpaid, don't say, oh, it's unpaid, I'm not gonna go. A lot of times gates are gonna open if you go unpaid, and then when they see the value in you, they offer you.
We have a
Never
student,
turn down any.
we have a student who took an unpaid internship 1 month. They're now hiring him as a part-time person. So again, they're testing you. If you're worth it, they're not gonna let you go. But it's your initiative to do it. They're not gonna come to you. You gotta come to us, okay?
if you
Come
can,
on.
I just had a
Stanford
student
Dennis.
who, she just graduated about 6 months ago, and she just told me that she was so upset with herself because she didn't do an internship, and she wanted to work for Delta, and Delta has more internships than they do full-time jobs
Right.
right now. So, and you can only get an internship if you're a current student.
Right.
So don't lose out on the opportunity to apply for all those internship jobs, because they are aimed at students, current students, and not at people who are graduated. So that's another thing to think about. You know, it really is, they've sort of reserved these places for you.
it's a different world. I would say I never had an internship. I worked full-time from the moment I graduated from high school. Sometimes that was full-time across 3 jobs, but I never knew how to not work full-time. I needed to work. I had to pay bills. And so I understand that. What I did was what Professor M recommended was I knew where I wanted to be. I joined Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, and I took unpaid time off to go to all of their events, to learn the lingo, to understand, to talk to the people there. And it was a challenge and it was a financial difficulty to do it, but not the same way that having an internship or, you know, having to quit a job was. And that was my open door.
Okay, we got time for one more question.
I have a question. If you can, in 1 to 5 words, what do you recommend for us? If you could do it all over again, in 1 to 5 words, what can you tell us that you would do differently in college?
That's going to one to each. Everyone can answer.
We'll start with Sherry first.
Okay.
Quick.
I would take notes.
Take notes.
She
And
said differently. You
meet
took
everyone.
notes on everything. She
Talk to
said
everyone.
differently.
What do you mean?
What would you do differently?
If you could
Oh.
go back and be like, oh, if I could go back in time, I would do this differently. What would you do?
I would, I wasn't I'm a serious person. I wasn't as serious about where I wanted to be. I didn't spend the time thinking about where I needed to be. And that's what you should do. Always have a plan.
Personally, you know, towards the end, I was just rushing to get done. You know, I'm sure everyone, you know, senioritis it's a real thing. But I just wanted to be out and making money and you know, have my career. I would personally go back and take it a little bit slower and really enjoy the time that I had in college. You know, I'm happy where I am today, but I definitely feel like there was things that I could have done differently that, you know, not so rushed. I don't know, that's the biggest thing for me.
Right. Well, one of the things that I wished I would have done differently is I wished I would have done my college career first and enjoyed the time, like Corey said. I'm encouraging my kids to do that. My kids are getting to where they're fixing to choose their colleges and where they want to go. I think it's important for you to like the school that you attend, and really promote that as well. And so that's what I would have done differently. As far as an MBA, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think you need to have some work time under your belt before you go to an MBA, because you won't take it as seriously, and you won't be able to absorb everything, because it'll be just something else that you'll need to get out of the way.
You can't
So-
contribute the same way either.
No,
You
I,
don't bring anything to it.
no, and if you're gonna look for an MBA program, look for a more professional-based MBA, the way that Clayton has theirs run.
Yes.
And, or even an executive MBA, but
Okay, we're gonna get ready for the highlighted thing. One word from each of you. What course should they pay attention to the most, that you would prioritize?
Dr. May's communication class.
Professor May's communication class. Word?
I'm drawing a blank.
Should have spent more time here.
I'm telling you, obviously I didn't. No, I really got a lot out of my marketing classes. My marketing research classes really, for some reason I enjoyed those classes.
and mine's Dr. May's class as well, the marketing
There you
communication.
go, Gary. Gary, here, you want the bag?
We use that every day
We're gonna
though,
drop
all day,
this
every
little
day.
backpack, this little lunch bag, whatever you want.
Does it say Lithonia?
Who?
Is it Lithonia? Does it say Lithonia? What does it
It
say
does
on
say
it?
Lithonia.
Does it?
I crossed off Cooper and wrote in Lithonia. Alright, so look at your numbers. You gotta read it somewhere. Alright, read it out loud.
Okay. Number, I guess I'm gonna read the last three
Yeah,
digits.
they're all the same, last three.
I'm gonna read the last three digits. Number 501.
Gotta be here to win it.
Yay!
I hope the book goes better than that.
Okay.
Alright, go ahead, another one. This is for the book.
No more?
And remember, it says, seeing the big picture, there's no pictures in here. But if it says business, business
I guess you don't
acumen,
want to chew on a minute.
build your celebrity, your credibility, career, and company. Forward by Stephen Covey. If anybody knows who Stephen Covey is? Yeah. He just passed away. All right, let's go. That's it. Enough when they're ready to throw it.
All right. Last three digits. 582.
Oh, dang, never.
Huh?
Go ahead, give it to somebody else.
You can have it. You want it. Do you mind if she wins it, or do we draw again?
Not very popular, are we?
Remember who your friends are.
Right.
I've never had that happen.
No.
Way to go. They know what they want, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
Second draw. Last three digits. 603.
603.
Oh, that's me.
All right, now,
Oh,
what's
yay.
next? Should we draw again or let her have it? There you go. Hey, before you go, let's give a big hand for everybody.